Forget everything your science teacher told you in school about space being quiet and safe. You were taught that a giant group of stars called Andromeda is floating millions of miles away and will not touch us for billions of years. But late last night, new raw scans from the giant space telescope in the sky were leaked online, and they completely wipe out that story. The outer gas clouds of both our home galaxy and Andromeda have already bumped into each other, mixed together, and started pushing against one another right above your head while you sleep. That means the biggest crash in the universe is not something for your great-grandchildren to worry about. You are literally living inside the very first wave of it right now. You sit at your computer looking at these new maps, and your chest feels heavy because nobody on the news is talking about this. The TV hosts keep showing pretty picture of stars, but they skip the dark thermal images that show a massive invisible wall of hot dust hitting our solar system. This is not some guess or movie plot. It is a physical force squeezing the space around our sun every single second. You start scrolling faster through the raw data sheets, trying to figure out why top space agencies kept this physical contact out of their official speeches. They knew if they told the whole world that the sky is already merging, people would start asking questions they cannot answer. Think about what it actually means to have two giant star systems grinding against each other while you eat dinner. You do not hear a loud bang or see explosions in the yard, because space moves in slow motion compared to our short human lives. But the invisible magnetic shield protecting our air is taking a beating from all the extra particles flying in from the other side. As you read through the private notes from researchers, you see that delicate measurement tools deep in the ground have been picking up weird vibrations for over 5 years. The ground beneath your feet is reacting to a deep space pull that was never supposed to happen in our lifetime. Why did team leaders write special codes on these telescope files if everything in space was running normally? You find an old document from a government station that points out strange jumps in atomic clocks and power line readings during certain months. The papers show that as Andromeda presses against us, it pushes wild radiation straight into our upper air layer. You lean back in your chair, wiping your forehead, realizing that the glitches on your cell phone network might not be accident errors at all. They are tiny signs of two giant worlds locking horns in the dark, messing with the electronic grid we use to run our daily lives. We used to think that galaxies were like isolated islands, sitting alone in a giant ocean of empty air where nothing ever touches. But these raw heat pictures prove that galaxies have huge, invisible arms of gas that stretch out way further than the shiny stars we see in photos. When Andromeda's invisible arm reached out and grabbed ours, it created a massive squeeze zone right over our heads. You start to realize that our small blue planet is not sitting in a quiet room. We are riding a tiny rock right through the middle of a colossal space intersection. Everything you thought was solid and permanent in the sky is actually shifting under your feet. If you check the old records from radar dishes built 50 years ago, you see that older scientists already suspected this was happening much sooner than public books said. They set up giant listening bowls in empty deserts to track subtle radio waves popping out from the edge of our night sky. You are looking at proof that people in power have been quietly watching this boundary line get closer and closer for decades. They built entire underground bunkers and tracking networks just to monitor how our sun reacts when the outer edges of both star groups finally rub together. This is the point where your mind completely flips, because you realize a space crash does not look like two cars hitting a wall. It looks like two thick clouds of smoke blowing into the same room and slowly mixing until you cannot tell them apart. Every strange magnetic storm, every odd reading on deep sea cables, and every satellite adjustment might be tied to this massive galactic shift. You sit there in the dark, realizing that we are not waiting for an event in the far future. We are floating right in the middle of it today. If you are liking this simple, real breakdown of what is actually going on above us, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button right now and leave a comment below. Your support is the only reason this channel can keep digging up real files and bringing you plain truth without all the confusing scientific jargon. As you keep digging through the rest of the report, the information gets even weirder and much harder to ignore. What if the sudden changes in space weather around Earth are not just random luck, but the direct result of Andromeda's dark weight pressing on our end? But your order is moving just a little slower than usual. Thanks for hanging in there with us. You look at charts from underground radiation counters, and the lines have been climbing steadily higher without any big solar storms to cause it. That means the outside ocean of space is getting thicker and heavier, pushing new types of energy through our skies every day. The big truth you take away from all these leaked documents is that our world is tiny, fragile, and totally exposed to what happens out in the deep sky. You can no longer look up at the night horizon and think of it as a fake background picture in a movie. It is an active, moving sea of massive rocks, hot gas, and magnetic forces that do not care about human plans. When you walk outside tonight and look up at the dark clouds, you will know the real story that most people around you have no idea about. The final note on the document leaves you with one clear thought. The sky is not waiting for tomorrow. You turn off your desktop lamp, sit back in the quiet dark room, and think about how crazy it is that no one else on your street knows what is going on. For thousands of years, humans thought the stars were stuck in place like little lights glued to a roof. Now you hold the hard data proving that the roof is moving, changing, and blending with another giant world at incredible speed. You take a slow, deep breath, knowing that your view of the world outside your window has been flipped upside down forever. The physical logs show that as the two gas layers press together, small atoms bump into each other and create brand new sparks of light that cameras can barely catch. That means as time goes on, the dark spaces between stars will slowly start to glow with faint red and purple bands. Scientists are setting up every camera they have to record those faint colors, trying to figure out what kind of heavy materials are mixing into our air. It is a rare chance to see deep space alter our own backyard without us ever leaving the floor. Think about how strange it is that our entire modern way of living relies on satellites floating in a space zone that is currently getting squeezed. If the heavy gas clouds from Andromeda keep pushing down on our magnetic bubble, satellite signals will have to work twice as hard to get through. That is why engineers are frantically updating software codes behind closed doors to keep your map apps and bank systems working smoothly. They are fighting a quiet battle against deep space forces just to keep the screen in your hand running for another day. What happens to your head when you realize that the universe is not a safe box, but an active, moving storm right over your house? The final page of the report shows that the data gathered by the new space telescope will rewrite every single textbook in schools for the next 50 years. It proves that we are much closer to other space structures than anyone wanted to admit in the past. The biggest question left for you to think about is how you will feel the next time you step outside, on a clear night, and look up at that bright, moving sky. You stand up from your chair, walk over to your bedroom window, and look out into the dark night sky with a totally fresh pair of eyes. The space above your house is not just empty cold air, it is a giant zone of movement, heavy pressure, and massive cosmic changes that we are only starting to understand. When you look up at the stars tonight, you will be one of the very few people who actually knows what is happening up there. You are ready, standing quietly in your room, while the rest of the world goes to sleep totally unaware.